Welcome to Talking Business. I'm your host, Darcey Edwards with Queen Bee Leadership Training. Talking Business is just that. We are talking business with business leaders, leaders in the community, and those who change their communities with entrepreneurship. This podcast is presented by Xpose Hope as a thank you to the business community. Catch us on all the platforms. Find us, follow us, and review us.
Hi, I'm Betty Campbell, and I'm here replacing Darcey Edwards for today with Talking Business. And today, Talking Business is pleased to present Mark Creamer with Globe Life, the Family Heritage Division. Absolutely. That's really interesting. Family Heritage. What is that all about?
So Family Heritage is a supplemental insurance company that provides ways for people to finance things like cancer, heart attack, stroke, accidents, and injuries. The company started a number of years ago under Family Heritage, and then just a few years ago they rebranded under the parent company, Globe Life. So Family Heritage is technically the company I work for, but I love what I do and like helping families.
So what in the world would make you sell supplemental insurance? What got you into that?
Well, good question. So, we all know folks that have gone through various illnesses, and my family's no different. My wife has had Lyme disease for 26 years, and it's one of those diseases that they don't really know much about, and most of the treatment is outside of the medical establishment the insurance would pay for. So I've been down that road of filing bankruptcy because of medical stuff. And when I found out what Family Heritage does when it comes to things like cancer and heart disease and accidents and injuries, it made perfect sense to me that, hey, I've been in the insurance industry for a lot of years, and this made a lot of sense to get out and help families that way.
Well, that's amazing. So I know that we've talked, you and I, about how many times we see people put up GoFundMes because they were diagnosed with cancer or they had a heart attack. And we forget sometimes there's more than medical costs involved. So where does your insurance fill in during all of that?
Very good question. So, I always think of our personal insurance as kind of like a three-legged stool. Most people know that they need to have some health insurance, and the health insurance pays the doctors and clinics and the labs and those folks. Then we also think we need some life insurance if we've got anybody that depends on us, or if we have a business that we need to protect, that sort of thing. But oftentimes the area that gets missed is what we call supplemental insurance coverage. And this is for the things that health insurance doesn't take care of. Things like time off work. You have to dive into your savings. Maybe you have to sell off assets like your home or boats or things like that, because there's all of these out-of-pocket expenses that people don't even think about until it's too late. And that's what supplemental insurance is. And I guess one of the things that I want to make sure I clarify, this is not supplemental for Medicare. This is supplemental for anybody from age 18 to 80 and families as well. Because when something like this happens, it's amazing how fast the money goes. And you mentioned GoFundMe pages, and that is, if you really want to understand why what I do is important, go read GoFundMe pages. They'll tell you exactly why they're in the financial trouble that they're in. But knowing what I do and knowing what we have, every time I hear of a new GoFundMe page where I either know the person or have had contact with them, it just is really frustrating because I know there's a better way.
Yes, there is. And, our podcast is actually for business owners. Business owners may not understand the need to insure themselves in case of this type of emergency. But what if you were a business owner? Say I get diagnosed tomorrow and I own a business. Maybe it's Lee, who's our photographer and videographer, and he gets diagnosed with cancer. He's going to be in chemo. He's going to be down a lot of days. He's going to be sick. So how would Family Heritage help him?
Well, as a business owner, they are responsible for pretty much everything that happens in their business. all the way from initial, attraction of new customers to their business, as well as paying the people that they have in their business to either provide service or manufacture things. All of those kinds of things are expenses that business owners have that if they were diagnosed with something like cancer or stroke or something like that, they wouldn't be able to come to work and do their job on a daily basis. And, I've heard lots of business owners say, I got sick and the bank wouldn't give me any more money. I couldn't borrow anything anymore because of the illness that I had. And I wasn't able to be there and manage the business. So these kinds of plans, the way they work is as somebody goes through a diagnosis and the treatment as they're getting better, what happens is, if, let's say for instance, there is a diagnosis of cancer, as they go through their treatments, they end up in a hospital. Every single day we pay them a certain amount of money based on the plan that they had. If they have radiation or chemo treatments, every day that they sit in that treatment chair, we owe them money. If they need to travel to some other part of the country, we have a travel benefit to help them with that as well. So there's all of these things that add up on top, with regard to like accident insurance and coverage there. I work with a lot of horse owners and stables and those kinds of folks. And you think about getting kicked. If you get kicked in your thigh and you break your thigh, on the best plan that we have, we give them $10,000 because they fractured their thigh, because that's a really tough bone to break. Children use these. Business owners have to take time off work to be with their kids, or maybe it's their parent that's sick. Children have to take time off of their work to be able to take care of their families.
That's very interesting. As somebody who came through cancer with my husband and dealt with that, it's the flight option. That's amazing, because some cancers are orphan cancers, and your local cancer center may not be an educational center, may not be the cutting edge, which is where you need to be. And those flights, we flew to MD Anderson in Texas, and those flights are very expensive. They have to be done in the last moment. So what a gift to be able to get on a plane and not worry, to be able to stay at a hotel and not worry about that expense, to know at least that is covered for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think they got a cancer treatment in their area that can take care of them. But the reality is there's so many different types of cancers and heart disease and all these kinds of things. And there's specialty treatments that are usually centered around research universities. Like for instance, here in Portland, we have Oregon Health Science University, Mayo Clinic in Minneapolis, and has the University of Minnesota. So there's these research universities that have the best and the brightest in particular areas that they're trying to get better treatments for. And most people can't afford the travel between their home and those locations. The doctors, again, like I said, are going to be taken care of because they're going to be paid by the health insurance. But it's the travel and the lodging and the extra food and the, parking fees and car rentals and all those things that start adding up.
Very quickly, too. Yeah. It absolutely decimated us. So I love your insurance. So tell me, when you went into this and you started your business up, I know that you're out there looking for people who might be high risk, like firefighters have a high risk of esophageal cancer, which is what my husband had. And then other professions have different risks for different cancers. How do you plug into them? As a business, how do you get to your target market? What methods are you using?
Well, our business is a referral business, number one. But prior to being able to get those referrals, it's really kind of a good old-fashioned cold calling business where you go out and you just put yourself out there, introduce yourself, let them know a little bit about what we do, and see if you can spend a few minutes and share with them some information. And what happens is that builds. They understand what we do could be important to them at some point. and then we try to relate all these situations to someone that they might know. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a business owner who has an employee that went through a stroke. Or maybe it's a type of business like, for instance, automotive, where there's a lot of chemicals involved and lots of heavy equipment, where we can relate those kinds of situations to these people, and then we can talk about what we offer, and then it just kind of grows from there.
That's wonderful. So, are you part of any organizations that help you to do this, to meet people that you can get in front of? And why? Why did you choose the ones you chose?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Hillsboro Chamber, and chambers have always been a good place to meet small business owners, individuals, businesses that are anywhere between 1 and 20 people. Those are sometimes the businesses that get ignored because they're not big enough. Well, with us, we want to protect anybody we can. So we sell everything on a one-to-one basis. I take part in a business networking group, Business Networking International, or BNI, and I meet lots of business owners there. One of the other things that I've done, you mentioned firefighters, is I started working with the firefighter union, because the unions for various industries, they are a membership of people that their responsibility is to find good things that are better than what they've had before. That's what the leadership of those organizations is charged with. And in the way of emergency services, fire, police, ambulance, the cities and the agencies, they have their way of doing things, but it may or may not be what's best for those folks. It's just what they can afford. So those organizations tend to look out for their membership. So I've tied into those things as well.
That's a great idea for a business owner, tying into those organizations where you want to be involved, where you want to get clients. Great idea. So how long, if I'm looking at getting into a business to provide a service like this, because service businesses are difficult. I'm not just handing you this cup and saying, hi, I'm selling you this cup. You can see the cup. You can hold the cup. A service is something you kind of have to experience, or have people who have experience. What type of advertising do you do? How do you tell people the stories that you're hearing?
So again, it kind of goes back to our business structure is really a one-to-one kind of a thing. We can get involved in some of these organizations, but the stories that we talk about, and the stories that are brought up to us as we're working and doing our business, are individual stories. So we spend our time identifying the needs that virtually all of us have, whether or not we want to admit it. A lot of people think they're invincible and they're never going to need this kind of thing. But the reality is, it happens. So we spend time understanding what their circle of friends has gone through, or their family, that sort of thing. And we move into, showing them how we can solve the problems for them.
Sounds great. What, when you're doing social media marketing and, one-to-one marketing, what do you use? How do you bring home the message?
So we use an iPad, and the company, Family Heritage, has developed a fantastic, very easy, 8 or 10 pages that we just flip through the chart, and then we talk about the stories as we're going through the chart on that. An interesting piece of this is during the COVID time, we were out and about a lot, and before it happened, and then they shut everything down. And I feel really fortunate that our company was able to put this iPad system in and Zoom system in within 5 days. So we really did not lose any time, whereas some of our competitors, I had heard that they weren't back in the field talking to people for 3 or 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
So that was really cool as well.
So choosing a good company to be with is very important.
Absolutely.
One that's able to pivot and deal with issues, because COVID was an issue, but it's not going to be the last one we'll probably face.
Exactly.
Right.
And talking about really good companies, I have to bring this up. And that is one of the unique things that we do that no other company in this industry does is if people purchase policies from us and they never use it, we're the only company in the industry that will give you 100% of your money back. And the way that works, one of three things is going to happen when somebody purchases an insurance policy with us. Either they're never going to need it, and down the road, we're going to give them 100% of that money back. The second thing is maybe they have some small claims. So we take the money that they put in, minus any claims. If there's anything left over, we give that back to them.
Oh my.
But unfortunately, sometimes with these kinds of situations, people need lots and lots of help, and we end up putting much more money out than we do put premium in as customers.
That's unusual. Usually you pay out for your car insurance, your house insurance, your whatever insurance, and you know you're never seeing that again. So what a great thing. It's like a savings plan, but if I need it, it's there.
Exactly.
How perfect.
Yeah, I had the opportunity about a year ago to sit down and have dinner with the founder of this company. He had been with another company for many, many years, and he decided to go out and found Family Heritage. And this was one of the tenets that he made sure that if we're going to do this, we're going to give the money back to people. And it's worked that way ever since its founding back in the early 90s. And I think it was last year, about a year ago, the last number I heard was over the years we've given about $380 million back to our customers.
That's a beautiful
premium.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for coming to Talking Business and telling us your story and a little bit about how you market and the great idea to go deal with the people who you're wanting to, like unions, go get involved with people. It's not just stepping in a chamber anymore.
Absolutely.
It's moving out a little further as a business. Who do I want to be talking to? Who do I want to be in front of? So thank you for all of your advice, and thank you for joining us on Talking Business.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
One of our clients had a child who had a chronic, severe condition that hospitalized him often. There's nothing worse than having a 2-year-old who has to be hospitalized. Xpose Hope provided volunteers to go in, provide some respite care, some compassionate service to this mom. Our volunteers would arrive with toys and fun things to do, and mom got to take a break, and we would buy her dinner down at the cafeteria. This is your Xpose Hope dollars at work. So if you'd like to donate, please go to www.xposehope.com. That's XPOSCHOPE.com/donate. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business, brought to you by Xpose Hope. We can be found on all of your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, iTunes, all of them. Also, be sure to like us, share us, and leave a comment. Who do you want to hear from? We want to know.